Good day, everybody. Is it going to be a good day, Pacer? I feel like it's going to be a good day.
It's going to be a great day, guys. Before we kick off here, I'm going to take over the role of host and welcome everyone to the Ray and Adam show, which is super exciting. As the founder of inplayLIVE, we launched this program because these two legends wanted to help out and get involved. Kind of started as a weekly Q&A with the members, and it's something that's a lot more public now, which is really exciting for the people on the outside of inplayLIVE to learn a little bit more about what's going on inside the community, but also just the way the great minds of the inside of inplayLIVE work and how they think, as we have different hosts and guests and members. And we've obviously seen some amazing people join the show already on the inside, but you people out on the public side will get to know them over the next little while. So it doesn't matter where you're joining us from. If you're a member watching live, if you are following us from Spotify, Apple Music, or YouTube, please like and subscribe so that you do not miss future episodes. This is a really exciting time, so let's get it.
Yeah, you bet. So, Pacer, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having Razor.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Razor, how you doing, buddy?
Good. I'm excited. We got a big night in the world of sports. We've been waiting for this for a long time.
Yeah,
Battle of Alberta.
Deal. Battle of Alberta, first time in 31 years. Are you kidding me? This is happening. This is crazy. The last time we almost had this happen was 2006 when the Oilers went on their cup run to Game 7, and I'll never forget it. It was the Oilers had just won the first round. I was at Game 6 against Detroit. It was actually the first playoff game I had ever gone to. Was a Game 6 against Detroit. And for anybody who remembers that game, like it was one of the most epic hockey games I've ever seen in my life. The Oilers they just laid a total egg in the first two periods. They're up 3-2 in the series, getting just brutally outshot by that was the Datsuk Zetterberg version of the Wings, and they were just killing us. And actually, it was Steve Yzerman's last game was that Game 6.
Really?
Alfensky scored 2 goals in the last I think it was like the last 3 minutes of the game to win this thing. I've never, ever, ever been in a building with a better atmosphere than that. And I just left with my hair on fire. And I'll never forget it. I called my dad as I was walking out of the arena. And I said, holy shit, Dad, I better have some good success coming up here, because I just developed a very expensive habit going to these playoff games. And then went all the way through. Ray and I were at Game 3 against San Jose in the next round, where they were down 2-0 in the series. Unbelievable game, unbelievable experience. But nothing will hold a candle to the Battle of Alberta. I don't think people outside of Alberta, or people who haven't experienced this rivalry, there's a few rivalries in sports that are this big, but I would argue that there's no rivalry in sport anywhere in the world that's as big as this, that had to wait this long to meet up in the playoffs. Like, it is going to be insane. So 2006, Calgary had the chance to make it happen. They lost to Anaheim in the first round. Both teams got it done this year. Overcame some pretty cool things in the first round, and now we go. So, let's go. It's going to be so good.
Adam, you know what's interesting is when you're saying all that stuff, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, from a betting standpoint, how can we capitalize? What's significant about it? What are the opening lines? Who's favored? Why are they favored? How do you favor them in this matchup? How do you decide who's better?
Well, there's one line you could bet on right now if everybody wants to lock this in. This is the lock of the year. So I'm going to Game 4 in Edmonton, and I noticed Sports Interaction has the over/under pregame beers for me at over 6.5. You can bank on the over. It is there. It's on Sport. You guys can go check. It's on Sports Interaction. I'm drinking over 6.5 beers prior to the game. You can definitely take the over. That is the lock of the century.
I'm going to buy some stock in the arena owners, because that sounds like a 3-figure bill for 7+ beers at the Oiler game.
They are super cheap. You can buy a double rum and Coke for as low as $23 at an Oiler game now. So like they're just giving them away. Like it's super cheap. You almost can't, like, it's, you know, you can't afford not to drink them at that price, Pacer. Like, what are you going to do?
You know what's interesting is when you actually think about hockey and the history of hockey and kind of the development of the league over like our lifetimes of the three of us chatting on this call. I remember, like, as a kid, the Tampa Bay Lightning being an expansion team, and then obviously, you know, we saw the Thrashers come and go, and the Hurricanes are kind of the standout where they went to the Stanley Cup final, and people didn't know what hockey was in the streets of Carolina, right? And of course, they ended up winning that year. And you think to franchises like where I'm from with the Canucks, I don't know how the hell long we've been around, but we seem to get worse every single season. And, you know, here are the Carolina Hurricanes that come in and win a cup right out of the gate. But the point that I'm getting at here is the cost of a beer. They were pulling people off the street saying, please come into the stadium. You know, we'll give you a beer and a hot dog. It costs you cheaper than the cost of that to come watch hockey. Yeah. But it was smart because the NHL is so much more popular now. And people in the South, people in the desert, you know, wherever, that didn't know ice existed in the world other than up with us Canadians here in our igloos, you know, they've really fallen in love with hockey. Now you go to those stadiums and it's actually crazy. A beer in a United States hockey rink is oftentimes $15, $17 US. Whereas actually in Canada, it's not cheap to buy a beer at a game, but, you know, it'll be $10 or $12 Canadian, which is like half price to American.
Yeah, they can get you on the tickets in Canada. In the States, they want you in there, and then they'll gouge you.
Yeah,
but that owner in Carolina was super smart too. He was the guy that started Top Shots Golf. I think he started that football league that went bankrupt. That might not have been his best move. What was that one a couple of years ago?
Well, you tried out for that league, didn't you, Ray? You were trying out for Hunter or something? Give it a shot?
I should know. I was working on
trying out
hunting skills.
Oh man. Yeah, it is really cool to grow the game. And I love seeing what some of the American markets have done. Like there's like I think it was Vegas. Was it Vegas when they came in that they had a special like a network that you could log into and just listen on earphones, and they teach you what offside is and things like that, and like how it all worked while the game was going on. I can't remember if it was Vegas or I know a couple teams have done that, but like it's really smart. It's just really, really smart to do things like that. So, you know, it's great to grow the game. The league has never been healthier. You know, outside of Arizona, I'm not sure there's a franchise that's really struggling right now from an economics perspective. And so, yeah, it's a fun time to be a sports fan, and, you know, having the time off where, you know, you couldn't even go to a game, now to be able to go in, like you can see the difference it makes in the players, and, you know, like playoff hockey without fans is, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an analogy. Like it's like sex without a partner. Like
it works, but it's not the same.
Could be a lot better. Yeah.
You know what's interesting? I'm trying to find a line for the under on the U.S. anthem for tonight's game, and no site is posted.
Oh yeah.
So this is a rare time when you're only gonna have the Canadian anthem sung in professional sports, because, you know, if you think about MLB, NBA, you know, NFL, whatever, you're always going to get the U.S. anthem in North America. So this is one of the rare times where tonight, before it starts, it'll be, who is the guy that sings that Calgary anthem? He's super popular.
George Canyon.
George Canyon.
Yeah. So it'll just be George Canyon singing "Oh Canada," and that'll be it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
crazy.
U.S. guy gets the night off. He'll be drinking beers with Adam.
He'll be betting. Right. He'll be betting with us, baby.
There you go. Yeah. So speaking of betting, you know, we like to do a little bit of that around here. On my pregame promo today, or on my pre-show promo, the reason I sent that out, and for those of you that didn't see it, I'll sort of recapture it. But I was talking to a guy this morning who is one of my best friends' oldest son, who's in his early 20s. And he started to make some bets on his own. And then his dad said, hey, why don't you talk to my buddy Adam? Maybe he can give you some some tips and advice on how to do this. So I was just telling him about inplayLIVE, and I started to talk to him about how cool it is to learn the skills required to beat the best odds makers on the planet, right? Like when you think about that, just think about that, how freaking cool that is, that we're just a group of just normal dudes and women. There's a bunch of women in inplayLIVE now, and it's awesome to see that. We're just a bunch of regular people. We're just a bunch of regular people who have learned from you and many other experts how to take regular people and show them how to consistently beat the top odds providers on the planet. And like, for those of you that don't necessarily appreciate how much work goes in to setting those odds, right? Like, we think we're doing stuff that's pretty cool. We think, we've got, this stat and this idea and that idea and all those things. It's nothing compared to the data that their top people are doing, yet we're still able to beat them. And like, it's the ultimate David versus Goliath, except David just kicks the shit out of Goliath like more days than not. Like, it's crazy. Like, there's no way this should work, and it keeps working. And it's one of the, like, I never actually thought about it like that until I was talking to my buddy's son, but it's really freaking cool that we're able to do that. And these are skills that, every one of them can be learned by regular people, every one. So like, it's a really cool thing.
Well, I think one of the biggest things about joining our community in particular, and I don't really want to make this like some big freaking inplayLIVE sales pitch, but I think, Adam, like, it makes you think differently, right? And I think that's something about tuning into this show that a lot of people have enjoyed as members, is they've learned from some of the best people in the group that help them to think differently. And a perfect example is we don't do a ton of pregame betting, but Adam, you were all over Game 7, Flames, Stars. Ray, you were all over it too.
Yeah.
Ottinger's saves. And I know we're only talking about hockey so far right now, and the NBA's playoffs are going on at this time too. But while we're on the topic, you approach the game differently once you've joined our community, and that translates into every facet of betting. And one of the beautiful things about betting and actually learning the skill set of winning is that when you go look at the Battle of Alberta tonight and you go, okay, the Flames pay this, will they win? We don't know. The Oilers pay this, will they win? We don't know. Will the Oilers win this game enough times to produce a long-term profit, whether or not we win or lose tonight?
Yeah.
And then when you take that same approach and you go through an entire betting menu, which can sound like a real fucking snooze, but to guys like us, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And, you start looking at player props and things like that, and all of a sudden there might be something that sticks out to you that you go, okay, I think there's value here. Now let's start looking into it more. And maybe you do some stuff with some data and some past performances, and that's never going to be an indicator of the future. But it could be a good benchmark for whether or not there's theoretical value on what it is that you're betting on. And if you go ahead and lose that pick and then you lose the next 15, but you managed your money properly through it, hopefully you learned something as to why you lost all those wagers in a row.
For sure.
And can come up with something that's just a little bit more creative or a little bit more effective, for the next one. And the result should not dictate whether or not it was successful. And that's why you need a big sample size to succeed over time. And I think that that's the number one thing, is there's so many people that come into the community that do genuinely learn for themselves. And you two are perfect examples of that. Both of you guys have been integral in new strategies that are being taught to other members, but also both of you guys are very, very, I would say, sort of keen and excited and interested in continually looking at what other ways we can beat the best odds makers in the world.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
Whereas I actually tend to be a guy that's a lot more content in the ways that I do succeed. I'm not out there actively pursuing new methods or new channels. And then when you guys bring something to me and I go, wow, like that's really cool, how can we kind of take that to the next level? And that's where I like to put my sort of spin or touch on things. But I guess ultimately what I'm getting at is it's fun. And, if you love sports, it's just such a awesome group to be a part of. And Yeah, I think you guys speak to the success of both, just taking someone else's picks and succeeding with them in that element of the group and the community, and then the actual like, hey, you know what, this guy didn't even give me a fishing rod. He taught me how to fish with a net, and let's go out there and win some money, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's one of my favorite parts about what we do here is the cat and mouse element to it. I mean, I've got like my initials are ADD. That's how bad I have ADD. Like they're actually ADD. Like I definitely have ADD. And so while I love, like sticking with what's working, I'm always looking for the next thing. And I don't know if you guys can relate. Oh, like when somebody else cleans the kitchen, right? Oh, am I paused? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we
can hear you.
Okay. So, like when I clean the kitchen, I can clean everything. I can make it all work, but it still doesn't quite look clean because I can never like finish off like that last 10% to make everything look really nice. My wife does it. It looks great. When I make the bed, it looks like I made the bed. When she makes the bed, it looks like because I can never make like the final little fine tuning thing. And that's how I am with these ideas in this group. I'll come up with something and I'll see it and I'll be like, hey, there's value. I know there's something here, but I can't put the finishing touches on it. I can't make it quite work. And that's where the community has been really cool is I'll throw an idea out to, our crew, or, maybe somebody else who's having great success there, or maybe to you, or maybe to Kenny or somebody. And then oftentimes you'll take it from that, that idea and then fine tune it to go, okay, now this is what's going to make it sing. And like from a just a pure satisfaction standpoint, I don't know that there's anything more satisfying than finding a new way to beat them. Right. And then using it and going with it. Like it's just the greatest.
I think on that same note, and not cheating.
No. Yeah, I'm not cheating.
Well, there's a whole world of professional sports bettors out there that just find an edge where, they can find a certain league or a certain site where they can get a basket in quicker than the site updated, or their court-siding, which if you guys have heard of court-side wagering, it is being at the game and gaining an advantage on the books by placing wagers ahead of time. And you can make money doing that stuff, but it has a serious shelf life. Whereas when you're not cheating, the books still don't like us, obviously. There's always the cat and mouse element of, them coming after us, potentially shutting down accounts, limiting players, changing the markets, changing the the odds of the markets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's that cat and mouse element of the group, but having that sort of support group that you have is what allows us to always continue to stay at the forefront. Well, we're not cheating. We're taking the odds that are being offered to us, and taking them to the bank, quite frankly, right?
Pacer, you and Kenny are the perfect examples of that. I mean, you two are the face of inplayLIVE. But your success is like 4, 5, 6, 7-fold since you were able to fine tune with the rest of these smart minds within the community.
Yeah. And, we've had, really cool story, guys, if you haven't heard it already. Kenny was recognized as one of the largest players at DraftKings in the United States. And as a result, he got invited to meet and get a putting lesson from the one and only Tiger Woods. And it's funny when you meet someone with the right fucking head on their shoulders. And what I mean by that is Kenny goes to this event and you would think that, he's losing a bunch of money and that's why he got invited. But DraftKings hasn't quite figured out that some people win. They are figuring it out, unfortunately, but they were recognizing these big whale players that are genuine winners and legitimate winners, and they were treating them as if they were, Joe Blow at the blackjack table, losing his shirt. So, yeah, he got invited to this thing, but he met a bunch of other guys that do the same thing that he does or that we do. And when you have the right head on your shoulders, guys like that, they didn't go, oh, fuck these guys, they don't know what they're talking about, or they're lying, or they're this, or they're that, or I'm better than them, I don't need them. Guys like Kenny and the guys that he met at this event, they're all part of the group now. They're all in here. They're $1 million sports bettors. Yeah. Yeah, they're in here. They joined. Kenny told them about the group. And if you are successful at this, you go, oh, wow, new ways to win. Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we're scamming you or fucking you over, the worst case scenario would be you lose a couple $100 and you move on. But I think it's pretty clear that, you know, if you see what we got out here, you know, you would not be a bright person to think that we are, you know, taking people for whatever we can. That's not what we're here.
Yeah. While we talk about this, it actually gives me a lot more respect for when you decided to do this as a full-time job without the community, right? Like we've had, and just disclaimer here, nobody on this show is telling you to quit your job and be a full-time sports bettor. Like nobody is telling you to do that. We're not giving advice in that regard. So don't take this that way. But there have been probably 40 or 50 guys in inplayLIVE that have quit their jobs and are doing it full-time now. Would that be about right? For sure, more than 30.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there, it seems like every week there's a new person that I get a message saying, thanks, I quit my job today. And I have never encouraged people to do that. They've done that because of their success and their passion for something that's generating a greater purpose than their 9 to 5, and something that is also generating a greater income than their 9 to 5.
For sure. And what's neat about that is that of the people that did that, there's maybe like 1 or 2 of them that would have been able to quit their job if they were just doing this all on their own, right? Everybody else had the community and the collaboration and the advice and, you know, the sounding board and the, you know, like all that stuff that's here, all the support so that they could do it. But you did it without any of that stuff. Like there was no inplayLIVE when you did this. You were just, you know, you found that you had a knack for this sort of thing and you were finding value with way fewer strategies than what we've got today, and had the stones to go, okay, this is it. Like I'm doing this, which is way harder than what we, you know, the guys that are quitting their jobs now.
Well, you know what, Adam? You know, there's 2 ways to look at it. There's the, we're not advising you to quit your job. And then there's the, what is my fallback if this fails, right?
Yeah.
And this is, I think this is a really powerful message, and it has nothing to do with sports betting. This has to do with you, whoever's listening, in your individual life, the current life you're living, and what you've ever dreamed of doing.
Right.
Okay? If you failed, so you left your job and you failed, what would your next step be? And I think that for me, it's like, okay, I could go get a real estate license tomorrow. I wouldn't do it in a day, but I could go get a real estate license tomorrow. I could go work at a car dealership. I could go bartend. I could start another business, which of course then comes with its own set of risks. I could drive or deliver Uber, right? We have a society full of fallback options, and you can drive Uber and Lyft and deliver food and make over 6 figures a year if you work your damn ass off. Yeah. And that option exists to almost every person in a major, like, metropolitan area in the world. So ask yourself the question, for nothing to do with sports betting, if I take this path right now and it gives me that sort of sense of purpose, or it gives me that ability to go, I'm doing something, or at least I'm trying to do something that I absolutely love. And if you fall on your face, you go back, you do one of those other jobs that I just listed, you grind your ass out, you get yourself back out of debt, whatever it is that you got to do, and you hang your hat knowing that you tried. And that is the thing. And that was what it was for me, 100%. I looked at it and I was like, look at what I'm doing with sports betting right now, but not making it real. What if I just turned this into everything I've ever been looking for?
Yeah. All in. Yeah.
All in. No turning back, all in. And if I fail, then I know that I tried. And then that's when it's like, okay, not only did I not fail, it completely changed the course of my life and obviously led to the creation of this community, right? So, I think that was kind of the mindset that I had at that time. And yeah, I didn't have the community to lean on or rely on, which definitely had a different element to it because, you know, if you did go on a losing run, you really didn't, not if, when you go on a losing run, I really did question if what I was doing was right or smart. And thankfully, I came out on top with it. But there's definitely some lessons in that. And one of the beauties of what we do have now is you do see the success stories and you do struggle with other people. Betting can be a very isolating thing where it's like, I have the Warriors tonight and you have the Mavericks tonight and I'm right and you're wrong. And the books are sitting there going, you're both wrong.
Right. Yeah.
10%.
You assholes are both wrong, right?
Yeah.
And with inplayLIVE, it's like when we're quote unquote wrong, which usually means making the right decision and the results not going our way for a series of time that produces, you know, a bit of a dip or a negative result for a certain period of time, we have each other's backs. We go, you know what, like we all did this, and all those people that are going, what the fuck's going on? Why am I not winning? It's you get all these people that go, I'm not either right now. We did the right thing. Stay the course.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're at the top of that domino effect of inspiring stories that help the next guy say, hey, I can do this too. And I mean, we hear another one every day. Someone comes out of the woodwork and just throws out a ridiculous number that they're up, and everyone's like, you know, popping bottles and pumped for them. So,
well, it's a lot. Yeah, you nailed it, Ray. It's a lot like the Roger Bannister story, right? Like, does everybody know who Roger Bannister? You know, you guys know.
I don't.
He's the first guy to run the 4-minute mile.
He's the guy that invented the banister.
He invented the banister. So like every time you go down the stairs and you don't fall, it's because of Roger. He did it.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. And then he ran the first ever 4-minute mile, something that everybody said was impossible, right? Like there's no way a human being can run a 4-minute mile. It's just not possible. So does it. And he said he's going to do it. And he went out and he did it. And he did the impossible. He broke the 4-minute mile. And then within a year or two, there was like 50 guys doing it.
Guess who the second guy was that did it?
Who cares?
No one knows.
Yeah.
winning time, baby. Jerry Buss. Dr. Jerry Buss. That's if you guys watch the Winning Time series on that's one of a whole episode starts with the speech you just gave.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's what, like, at least for me, like it never would have occurred to me that we could earn this kind of money if I didn't hear that other people were doing it too, right? And if you hear one guy does it, fine, one person. When lots of people are doing it, you're like, okay, well, surely there's a way to do this. Like I have to be able to do this. If they can do it, so can I.
But if without this, if you told anybody you were up, let's say $100,000 betting on sports, 9 people out of 10 are going to tell you that is not sustainable. Get out now. You're going to lose it all.
Yeah.
Right. This community says, keep going. You can. Why not? Keep making good decisions. You're going to keep making money. And that's the difference. Like it's on the inside. There's just so much confidence because we know what it's about. On the outside, it's like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, totally. Razor, you've been really, you've been an inspiration to me in the way that you continue to just elevate what you're doing. And like everybody as they elevate, they encounter walls and ceilings and things like that. You've had some really great success in breaking through those. What have you done? Like, what are the things that you've done to never be satisfied with where you're at, and B, just to keep climbing and keep going? Like, how have you done it?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think I just listen to the smart guys, but I mean, for me, I'm always tinkering with my own things, and I'll never stop that. Like I don't always, I'm not always confident enough to share what I'm doing, but I'm always tinkering with new ideas. But with that, I mean, make a spreadsheet, set goals, hit them. Like it's not unlike anything else, and have that confidence that you're gonna keep leveling up. I mean, I don't know. I I'd have to put more thought into
No, but
how it's happened.
Ray,
but
that's the perfect
I can
answer.
tell you that
that's the perfect answer.
Yeah,
totally.
I can tell you that there's some surreal moments all the time when you look at that spreadsheet and you hit a milestone or something good happens, and you try and keep yourself in check and not get too big of a head about it. But man, like what's gone on over the past year from this skill that I've learned through Andrew and others has just been absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. No
Nice
question.
hit, Ducharme.
You know what's great about this show is Ducharme's in here and he just hit one of our pregame player prop baseball picks while the show's on, and people are in our group chat shooting guns. It's what a rush, guys. What a rush. Ray, can I just say one thing to that too? I think one of the things that you kind of brushed over there is when you talked about tracking and you said make goals. One of the biggest things when things aren't working is when you track your shit, you can see what's not working. And then you can look at a particular strategy and go, well, that strategy actually does work. It's just been a bad run. Or you can go, what the fuck am I doing here? This one just straight up is not working. And I have a big enough sample size to show that I'm wasting my time and energy doing this. And that's the thing is, if you guys are not a member of inplayLIVE and you're watching this, you can do this yourself. Right? We've proven that you can do this. And now you guys know, hey, I can do this on my own. Joining us just puts a bit of a catalyst effect on your success so that you could get there a little bit quicker and also have the resources of the community to bounce ideas off of. But, by all means, go out there and do this on your own and go fuck those books up, right? That's what this is all about. And, you definitely can have success. Hopefully, joining takes about a decade of hard work out of the equation. But yeah, anyways.
Well, if you're humble enough to learn from others, this is the place for you, right? You got to be humble and hungry, and you need I don't know how many times I've talked about this, but like this mindset book, growth mindset, humble and hungry. I sound like Sean McDermott right now, but it's like it's just so critical in doing what we do is that growth mindset. Never be satisfied. Always be humble enough to know that you can get better and learn and grow. It's just
hey, Adam. I think we're going to call that the inplayLIVE Bible from now on.
We should.
Yeah.
Like if we can, I don't know Carol Dweck, but Carol, if you're watching, come on the show. It'd be really cool to have you.
the thing it has in common for me is I've never read either one of those books, but I can still live by them.
Ray, you haven't read a book since the 1992 December edition of Maxim.
You know what? I read R.A. Dickey's book.
Wow. That is a great book.
And I read half of Gordie Howe's book. That
Which
was
half?
pretty good.
The first half or the second
The
half?
first half, yeah.
Right,
It was pretty solid.
The first half or the second half, the back cover, right?
Pacer, let's talk about the guns. Every time somebody joins inplayLIVE, hang on. Somebody's asking me the name of the book. I don't know if I'm mirrored or not, but it's called Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Dwecksy.
You can see how worn it is. Like it's one of the most impactful things I've ever read. Read that book for sure. But let's talk about the origin of the gun. Hang on. I got a stupid cat in my office. Get out of here. Hang on. Let's talk about, Pacer, give the story of the origin of the gun and how you came up with that. And then I want to talk about it from a law of attraction standpoint.
I didn't come up with the gun. My side chat with my fantasy football group of guys, we would shoot a gun when the Canucks would score a goal. We'd put that green gun up, and it was kind of like a sniper, like Pedersen off the bar and ding, Yeah. And we'd be like, oh, what a snipe. And that green gun would go up. And then when inplayLIVE launched, it didn't take too long before I was posting some of our strategies live before live streams had started, but posted, a strategy that we were going to take live in a game where I said, hey guys, I'm going to take this wager coming up in, whichever game it was. And then, of course, in inplayLIVE fashion, we hit a few of them. And I think right off the bat, I fired the green gun underneath the chat. And before you know it, someone else shot one too. And that was it. That was it. And then by the time the live stream started, which was about 5 weeks after we launched, maybe 6 weeks after we launched, and we got ready to do those streams, I was like, oh my God, like I got to go to Toys R Us and find myself a fucking green gun. And then, yeah, it just obviously went from there. To be honest with you, Adam, I think the mentality of celebrating the wins is obviously always something that I have done and want to, even just cheering, right? Like, taking that moment to recognize that you just won and how awesome that is. But yeah, I mean, it became a staple of the group, and quite frankly, I don't think enough people do it. I think we need more people to do it. I would love to see, a lot of our streams have 400 people in them now. We've got 760 members. I'd love to see 400 guns when we hit, just boom, everyone celebrating, no excuses, right?
Well, and like I've heard people, and I've had people say to me, like, let's say it's not a good night, right? Let's say it's let's say we're down and we're having a tough night, and you win a bet and everybody shoots their gun. And some people are like, well, why'd you shoot your gun? Like, we're losing on the night. Well, this is like, if you believe in the law of attraction and things like that, this is like law of attraction 101 is you're going to get more of the things you pay attention to, right? The things that you think about, they're going to come back to you. And so if you want success, I don't care what you're talking. I don't care if you're betting on sports. I don't care if you're golfing. I don't care if you're selling houses. I don't care if you're selling. I don't care what it is. If you want more of the wins, you have to celebrate your wins, right? You have to crystallize them and celebrate them and make them real. And if you do that, the way the universe works and the law of attraction, even just, all of our brains, the way they work is they will naturally be attracted to the things that we pay the most attention to. That's just how it works. This is not
wins.
This is wins. So celebrate your wins. And so when we see those guns going off, I would argue that they're every bit as important when you're having a tough night than when you're having a good night.
Totally.
Right? But you got to celebrate the wins. And so, like, anybody saying, this is bullshit, you shouldn't celebrate at that time, they're missing it. Like, you guys are missing the boat on that. The wins, every time you celebrate your wins, every time. I actually, it's funny, Pacer. I mean, you and I have been buddies for quite a while here now, and I had no idea that that's where the guns originated from. I just thought it was just a really brilliant way to celebrate that everybody can do, but I didn't realize
thank you. Well, thank you.
Accidentally brilliant.
Two things, Adam. One, Charles just posted in the chat that Carol Dweck actually has a great TED Talk, so that's something that I'm gonna watch probably.
Dweck.
Then Dwexy's got a sick TED Talk. Yeah, and second thing is, you talked about being buddies for a long time. I hope you fucking worked on your cornhole game. Okay. Because listen to me, if I'm not gonna ditch you ever at the inplayLIVE annual events, but if your cornhole game has not improved by the time of this summer, I will be very upset.
You know what, Pace? I would like you, like, as your partner, I would like you to go buy a very stiff barbecue brush and scrub your hands. Because first off, I was pretty fucking good at cornhole considering I never played it before. So this is a really funny story, you guys. Like, he organized this cornhole tournament, and then we were talking, and he's like, hey, should we be partners? I'm like, yeah. And then, like, 3 days later, like, Pacer, like, I thought I was competitive. Pacer is like the one guy I know who might be more competitive than me. So it's a few days before the event, and he's like, hey, like, so are you pretty good at cornhole? And I went, I don't know. I've never done it before. He's like, you've never played cornhole before? No, but I'll be good at it, I said. He's like, why do you think you'll be good at it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm a 2 handicap. I'm pretty sure I can figure out how to throw a fucking beanbag through a hole. Like, how hard can it be? And we were fine. Like, I held my own.
We were fine. We kicked ass. We didn't close it out.
Well, I would say that was at least 50% your fault. So thanks too.
But Adam, I've been working on my game.
So have I.
Okay.
I dream about cornhole. I just visualize that.
All right.
Hit the range, Adam.
Hit the range. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, sir, you You talked about the size of the community a little while ago. A lot of times when I'm out or someone asks me how I'm doing or what I'm doing with this, they all think they've missed the boat. They think like, like the opportunity's passed, it's going to close, this or that. So why don't you just talk about, where the community's at, maybe briefly where it started and where you see it going.
I think the foundation of finding value tends to be related to chaos. So going back to great things to look up, one of the absolute most flooring things for me before I started inplayLIVE was my brother reaching out to me and sending me a video on chaotic models. And this sounds so fucking boring. And it's the example of a pendulum that can just go east and west. It is on one single axis, right? And there's no gravity, and it's the same single swing every single time. And then as soon as you add a second axis where it starts, the pendulum can go in any direction, that it is impossible to predict the exact line of where the next swing of that pendulum will land. Impossible. You could predict it out of complete and total luck, but there's no actual way to determine exactly where it will go. And that is why right now behind me, there was supposed to be a big rainstorm today, and I'm looking at sunshine. If you extrapolate that to the point where you try to predict exactly the time of the first raindrop to fall or exactly where the next cloud will be, it is impossible, which is why the weatherman is constantly wrong. And you know what's interesting about handicapping sports is I have had degenerate losing gamblers say to me, I cannot believe how good Vegas is at handicapping games. The Celtics are +4 tonight, and they'll lose by exactly 4, and they can't believe it. Or the total was 211, and it landed on 212, and they can't believe it. But they only focus on that specific time. That's it. They only focus on that specific time. And ultimately, if you look at the handicap or the total or any line for any given game, if you look at that as the next hour's forecast for weather, it is relatively accurate. It's relatively accurate. But then if you actually break it down into the Celtics are +4, but Jason Tatum is going to score exactly 28 points. And he's going to get exactly 7 rebounds and 2 assists. And then you extrapolate that further to every single player and every single quarter in every single situation. Where at inplayLIVE, one of the beautiful things is the Celtics might land on exactly 4 tonight. But along the way, we might have kicked ass in a specific quarter or with a specific player or whatever the case may be based on the parameters that we were currently seeing. So when you talk about group size and what's to come, one of the biggest single things that I will always hang my hat on from the standpoint of value when it comes to sports betting is that the Celtics are +4 tonight heading into Miami. If they are out playing and beating Miami, there will never not be value on the underdog to continue to beat down the favorite. And on the flip side of that, if the favorite is outperforming their pregame line, there will never not be value on them to do that. It's all about recognizing when, where, and how that specific trend can be capitalized on and which players along the way we can ride to that success. And with our group, we have seen the power that we have where we hit a small market and the line changes. You guys that are not a part of the group should see it. Actually, it's crazy, it's cool, it's inspiring, and it's scary. You go, holy shit! Someone just called a pick, and they just called it at 2.45. And while I logged in and saw the number, I watched it drop to 1.9. So that would be +145 to -110 in American odds. From the second it was called by us to 10 minutes later, boom. Yeah. So that's the power that we have as a group. So the scary part of that is you go, holy shit, like I missed out on the number. Like this group's too big. I'm not getting in first. Like what the fuck do I do? Like this is crazy. And the flip side to it is you go, look at the power that we have in the sense that we just did that to a sports book, and we now have the ability to bet the other side, and where the game hasn't started and we've locked a profit in already just by the moves that we've made. So, you know, I'm more so of the mindset of the more people that we have leads to more Rays and more Adams and more other superstars in the group that will continue to develop new strategies and continue to help us with the whole cat and mouse thing. But the flip side to it is when you talk about sustainability, there's been a tremendous precedent set with sportsbooks' inability to limit players in France and Spain. It's been successful. It's succeeded. It's gone through.
Talk about that. What do you mean by that? Like if somebody
Bet365 cannot limit
this for the first time.
Okay.
What does it mean to limit somebody? Like, explain that.
I mean, as winning sports bettors, you are a bad customer, and you individually are not profitable for the sports books. And people are like, "Oh, the house always wins." Yeah, great. They do always win, but I kick their ass while they win. So, like, that one always kind of makes me just think that the person that I'm talking to isn't necessarily the sharpest or brightest. But at the same time, I understand why people say that. If you win consistently over time, sportsbooks tend to limit or remove you from their site. Or, you know, if you've ever heard of Operation Greyball from Uber, where they made it so that certain people couldn't order a car, but it always looked like cars were coming. They keep your wager spinning and spinning and spinning so you can't get a bet in. Or they say, due to technical difficulties, this wager cannot be placed. And it says that for every single wager that you make. So you sit there frustrated trying to get a bet in and you can't get it in. So they have all these little tips and tricks to kind of steer you away from their site and go, hey, you know what, why don't you head elsewhere and go somewhere else. And the way in which each site does it tends to be different. Some will say your max wager for this site is $0, and others will be like your max wager for this site is $1.38, like that kind of thing, right? So when I talk about sustainability, you can't do that in France and Spain. That's illegal to do. Their regulators don't allow you to do that.
They do not allow anybody to limit anybody there. So they have to. Are you saying that they have to have the same rules for everybody, whether they win or lose?
Correct.
So it's not that every book will take unlimited wagers, but if they say, okay, you can bet $1,000 on this today, they can't lower you to $1 if, like, down the road. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, yeah. And then also on top of the precedent, that's specific to locations, right? So that's Spain and France. There's certain books that, regardless of where they operate, they do not limit their players. Pinnacle is a great example of that. So if any of you guys are sports bettors that, you know, want a site that has the best of the best practices, the best of the best fairness to all players, and quite frankly, a lot of times the best of the best lines, Pinnacle is the answer to that.
Totally.
So we from a sustainability standpoint, when you're talking about the size of the group works to our benefit because we have the power to, which we are in the process of doing, speak to regulators and authorities relating to who writes the legislature surrounding sports betting in the specific regions that inplayLIVE is operating in, which is predominantly across all of North America where sports betting is legal. And we are actively in the process of making those changes. And if the changes don't come into fruition, at an absolute minimum, the regulators and the people who write the legislature that don't agree with these type of quote unquote fair practices will be exposed not as a threat, but as a harsh reality of the sports betting industry and the way that sort of these regulators are operating with the sports books. So I think that is super, super exciting. And if we can gain traction in that regard, when you talk about group size, you go, well, group size, the more the better, because that's the more people whose lives are positively impacted in this area, provided that it's something that they think is right for them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's super interesting. And that would be amazing. Like if we could have every province in Canada, you know, with rules like that. I know Ontario and BC are a little bit ahead of others. And in the States, it's kind of a dog's breakfast. Like the way that they treat people in, say, New Jersey versus Arizona, I'm sure is different. But but hopefully there's some consistency that comes in. Cause it is great. I mean, when I tell people that, yeah, like the books will kick you off if you win, they're like, what? Oh, they won't. What are you talking about? They don't kick you off if you win. Oh yeah, they do. They do. Getting back to what you said a minute ago, Pacer, about the, like the weather, I've never thought about it from that perspective, but on the stream that we did on Sunday, so it was me, Ray, Sharmy was running the baseball stream, and then he had us on because like part of the problem with baseball is sometimes Sunday you can go a while without making any bets, and so it's sort of hard for Sharmy to just run the stream all by himself and just talking to air. Like that's a lot to ask. So he wants guys on, and then we sort of, we can have some banter and keep it entertaining and things like that. So that's what we were doing. And I'm far from a baseball expert by any means, but when the Celtics Heat game was on, it was the, what game was it? It was, it was game 7, Celtics Bucks, and the pregame odds or the pregame line for Williams, Grant Williams, I believe is his name. I'm not like, shows you how much I know about basketball, which is kind of funny. But Grant Williams, his pregame line was 11.5 points, and he had 11 points at halftime. And at halftime, they had his live line at, I think it was like 13.5.
I think it was 14.5, Adam. Yeah.
So they needed like 3 or 4 points to do it. And then we didn't take it at halftime, but we were watching it. And then he, 3 ball. And then all they kept doing for the rest of the game is they would, because according to the books, he had already exceeded what they projected him to do. And so we were able to bet on him. If you wanted to, you could have bet on him like 5 or 6 times, because he ended with 27 points and he had like 7 threes or something crazy. And every time he'd make another 3, all he had to do was get 3 more points for the rest of the game to hit his new total. It's a great example of going, okay, I predicted the weather, 2 days ago and I was wrong, but right now I'm just going to predict the weather, over the next hour. Well, where are you going to be more accurate?
Grant Williams is another raindrop falling from that big black cloud that's hanging over your head, where they're going, no, it's got to stop raining. It's got to stop raining.
It's going.
Well, it'll stop once the game's over. Once the cloud's gone, it'll stop. That's such a good example. It's such a good example. And Adam, we hit, so the books kind of shut that market down after we hit it, I think twice. So we got the 14.5 and we got one more 3-pointer. And I think we hit it 12 seconds later. And then we're like, well, guys, they just posted the same line again. He's wide open. They're not guarding him because that's, quote unquote, as the basketball players say, that's the one we want. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that term, but if Draymond Green goes to shoot a 3 for the Dubs, you can hear in the regular season, you probably won't hear it with the crowd in the playoffs, you can literally hear people yelling, that's the one we want. And they're literally saying, you guys played great D to get Draymond to shoot the 3.
Right.
So the Bucks were playing Grant Williams as that's the one we want, and he lit them up.
Yeah.
And any NBA player can do that if they're hot and knocking down their shots, right? So that's a great example of something that we picked up on in that game. And is it repeatable? That's the thing, right? Like with a lot of the stuff we do, people could watch us and go, "Oh my God, I'm going to start doing that," and then you might lose 10 in a row. So one of the reasons that we're successful is because we pick up on things in real time as they're happening, and then we move on from them. We're not going to we're not betting on Grant Williams tonight. There's a chance we do, but I almost guarantee you we're not going to.
That's right. Well, and what's kind of neat about that is like, I don't know anything. Like, I'm not a basketball guy. It's not my thing. I mean, college basketball is definitely my favorite sport to bet on. I know very little about the players, the teams. I know enough to be dangerous, but I was able to spot the value, right? Like there he is, there's the value. I can see it. And it's funny when we first got to know Kenny told a story about how he would make money at the start of the pandemic on Australian rules football. And he didn't even know the rules of Australian rules football. Like he didn't even know how it worked. And he was making really good money just because he had the ability to understand just enough about the game to spot the value where while the game was going on, he could spot where the books were being stubborn. And when he told me that, it felt like he was describing, flying to the moon with his bare arms, right? Like, that's impossible. How do you must have just been getting lucky, but you're not, because it's one of the coolest things about inplayLIVE, and something that you can then apply to other areas of your life is you start to see what value looks like, right? Value is everything. And the guys that are the best at it are not only the ones who can see the value, but they also have the feel for what, the game flow and what will happen next. And then they marry the two. So they're not just betting on great value, but they're betting on things that they think are likely to happen. And their instincts are good. That's when this thing, kind of hits that holy grail stage. Yeah. When not only are you able to, to know enough about what's going on to be able to make accurate predictions, but then to get great value on it while you're doing it. That's the holy grail.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing to do.
By far. Yeah. Guys, we're coming up to the top of the hour here. Ray, are you want to plug the show one last time?
Well, just before we set sail here, Adam, I was just thinking to myself, with regards to the Battle of Alberta, I know you opened the show with that. I wouldn't mind coming back to it really quickly. Have you looked at the series lines, the pregame lines, and the player prop lines?
Zero.
Okay, can I ask why you haven't?
Who cares?
No, like, why I haven't is because, like, honestly, it's too early, right? Like I have no idea what this is going to be like. I mean,
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah, like, there's just, and the old Adam, like, I would have been all over this. I'd have been researching this and that and everything else. And it's not to say that, like, pregame research isn't important, because it is. And, like, I would argue that like in the NFL, by the time you get to playoffs or, even anything past week 8, there's enough data and experience that you can start to make some really great pregame wagers, or at least know what you're going to look for live by doing some pregame research. But, like, this Battle of Alberta, like, I don't know if there's going to be 120 minutes of penalties a game or 2. I don't know.
I feel like there's part of me that after watching that last series with the Stars, this could be low scoring. But then when you think of Oilers Flames, you go, well, this is going to be so high scoring.
Like 8-5. Who knows? Why try and guess? Like, let's watch.
Yeah, exactly.
You can tell me right now that the final score tonight is going to be 8-7, 1-0, or 10-0. And I would believe you on all fronts. Like, I have no idea. I know it's going to be a lot of fun, though. I know it's going to be great. And I'm pretty confident we're going to find some ways to make some money on it as we go.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, actually, when you think about it, I mean, both these teams behave at the end of the game in ways that we really, really like, without sharing too many secrets. But the guys in inplayLIVE, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, good wink, Ray. Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a blast. And I don't wish Calgary Flames fans any specific harm, but I hope you don't have a good evening tonight. I hope you're cursing in the morning.
Hey, you might end up betting on the Flames tonight. Oh, wow. There was the test. You see that choke? It was like, oh, what did he just say to me?
Yeah,
You never know.
I could sell my soul for a Lamborghini too, and I'm not gonna, like, there are limits. Betting on the Flames is one of them. So
wow. Okay. Well, everyone knows rule number 1, drop your emotion at the door. But for someone like Adam who can't in this situation, it's likely that he probably just doesn't wager on the game, or if he does, he doesn't lose his shirt doing it. And hopefully he ends up betting something that's profitable on the Oilers side of the game.
Exactly.
Guys, I'm just gonna say with the show going forward, because obviously it's not my show, it's your guys' show. I'm super excited being the person that gets to support you guys doing this show. I think it's really, really awesome, the guests that we've had on, and I think you guys are going to cover some great topics, and you never know what you're going to get. But definitely, if you guys are enjoying tuning into this show and you're on the outside of inplayLIVE, Adam and Ray are going to be talking, about everything from player props to NFL personnel to MLB personnel. There will be, the odd pick or tip given out, potentially, if you catch the show early enough to actually get a wager in yourself, if you want to tail these guys. But ultimately, yeah, I think just make sure whatever channel you're listening to us on, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, like, subscribe. And if you are interested in joining the inplayLIVE community, you can head over to inplaylive.com or click the link that's in the description. Click on quarterly, and we have a nice discount code for all of the Ray and Adam show viewers. So click on quarterly subscription, type in promo code Ray Adam, and you can join in Play Live for a nice discount. So anything you guys want to add there?
No, it's just going to be a really fun ride, guys. Like, I just can't say it enough what this thing means to me. And, Pacer, like, we become such good buddies, brothers over the years. But you're one of many, many, many great relationships that Razor and I have made over the years. I mean, we've got a bunch of lifelong friends. It doesn't really matter what your motivation is. If you want to have fun, if you want to be challenged, if you want to grow and improve, if you like sports, it's just a really cool way to have some fun. And everybody gets to choose their own adventure here. If you're here for the money, if you're here for the experience, if you're here for camaraderie, like, here for all of it, it's there. It's just a matter of what you want to get out of it. So
I love how Adam keeps saying over the years, and we haven't even reached years yet. We're at 1.7 years. But it feels like we've been here forever.
When you find the thing you're supposed to be doing your whole life, it feels like a lifetime really quick.
Oh,
absolutely.
God. I wish I'd been doing this my whole life. It'd be great.
And when you talk about the community, it's like we got side groups where it's like, imagine if you're a poker fan and you got to be in a side group with Daniel Negreanu and Phil Hellmuth. Like, that's what I feel like we're at, except for I'm buddies with him and I can call him a piece of shit if I want to, like it's just a dream come true.
All right. Cheers, guys. Great show. See you next time, gents.
Okay.
See you later.
See you next week. See you guys.